Hello everyone and welcome to this video. Now today I'm going to be taking a look at the debut album by the band Big Country. I'm going to be reviewing The Crossing. So yes, in this video I'll just be doing the usual thing, giving a bit of background information about the album, then showing you my vinyl copy and then looking at each of the album songs in detail. So this was the band's debut album released on the 5th of July in 1983. The band Big Country was formed in 1981 by guitarist and singer Stuart Adamson, who had recently left the punk band The Skids, and that Big Country was formed by him and his companion guitarist Bruce Watson, both of them from Dunfermline in Fife, Scotland. Originally, the band consisted of a revolving rhythm section, basically local guys who they knew. Whether after the band got their record contract, they auditioned some London-based session musicians. And out of that, they recruited bassist Tony Butler and drummer Mark Brensky, I think that's how you say it, and thus the classic lineup of Big Country was born. And I think they stayed together throughout pretty much most of the 1980s, and they played their first gig at Dunfermline's Glen Pavilion in 1981. So when it came to recording their debut album here, they recruited producer Steve Lillywhite, who was certainly now considered a legendary record producer, certainly probably the best of his era, because he around this time was also making classic albums with the likes of U2, XTC and Peter Gabriel. So certainly a very in-demand record producer, quite an achievement to get someone of his stature producing your debut album. And possibly as a result of this, it was a major success for the band. When it was released, it reached number 3 on the UK charts, eventually going platinum, number 4 in Canada, and quite a respectable number 18 in America, eventually going gold there. But certainly it's quite an achievement for a band whose whole sort of style and music and aesthetic was sort of quintessentially Scottish, to have that level of commercial success again America was quite significant. So I will show you my vinyl copy of the album now. It did come in many colours. For instance, this CD what I've got of it is red. I think there's also a green and maybe even a yellow version of it as well. But yeah, I'll just show the vinyl copy here. Quite a common record this. You can find it usually under a $5 in most record shops. So yeah, there's the back of it there, just a picture of the band, and it comes with a printed inner sleeve for this, so you've got all the lyrics to all the tracks on both sides there. And then this is on forget what label they were signed to, but it's on a sort of custom label here. I think it's Phonogram Records, by the look of it. So yeah, that's the vinyl record looked at. Okay, so I'll now go over each of the album songs. So there's 10 tracks in total here, so I will score each track out of 10, and then those scores will be used to give us a overall percentage marking for the album. So it kicks off with the classic In a Big Country, which was the first song which I heard by Big Country, and I just absolutely fell in love with it. I love the kind of very majestic sounds I got off the guitars. Kind of has a sort of bagpipey sort of sound to it as well. It was achieved by Adamson and Watson, basically playing in unison through a pitch transposer, I think was the gadget which they used. Just a really great pop song full of hooks, a great passionate vocal from Adamson, and yeah, just a classic song. It was the 3rd single released from the album, and it reached number 17 in both the UK and America. So yeah, an absolutely fantastic song there, In a Big Country. Great way to kick off their debut album. And then we get another great song called Inwards, which begins with a really sort of great sort of punky guitar riff and driving drums. It's a bit more bleaker lyrically, this one. Kind of the opening line on it is I wouldn't want to go home on a night like this. So it kind of has this sort of slightly sort of unsettling kind of lyric to it. But musically it's just so euphoric. It's got a great catchy chorus. Just another winning track there for me. The next song up is called Chance, which I also really love. I would give this song a full 10 out of 10. It's a more sort of sparser sounding track, this, and it's more sort of like a more personal, like kind of ballad song. Like it was quite like an interesting choice, like for like a single, like as well. This reached number 9, like on like the UK charts, like becoming the most successful like single released from the album. And I just think it is a really lovely, like beautiful song. Like it's got an interesting sound to it, like as well. So yeah, like I would give that song the full 10 out of 10. Really love it. The next track up is called 1000 Stars, which, yeah, more sort of upbeat and like catchy track. This like kind of needed, like coming after like the slightly slower Chance. It's just got like such a sort of like anthemic kind of feeling to it, like on like the chorus. Maybe melodically this song like is kind of like lacking, like, but you know, Adamson's vocal, he just puts in like 110% like with it. The guitars just drive the song along. So yeah, another really good track. Like when like you're in like the mood for it, like it's like a song which like it's a song which like you can really get into. And then to close off the first side, we get a track called The Storm, which is, yeah, a slightly slower start to this song here. It has a very sort of like brooding, mysterious, like sort of like texture, like on the introduction, like I believe like created using like the EBow, like which sort of like instead of like plucking like a string, like it will basically sort of play it like a bit like a sort of like a violin, like sort of like sound to it, like which gives it like a very sort of like eerie, like kind of like mysterious like feeling to it. However, after this sort of like introduction which lasts about a minute or two, it sort of gives way to a more sort of like acoustic leaning kind of like Celtic sort of song, like sort of like bringing in like this sort of like Scottish folk like influence like to it, which I think works like really well. I like the chorus like of the song. I think the track's well placed, like coming after like a lot of like sort of like upbeat like rocking tracks. It kind of breaks up the album quite well. I would say though, personally for me, it is a tad too long. It's about 7 minutes like all in all, this track. And like personally, I don't think that there's enough like of like an actual song like in there like to warrant like that sort of length. But it is another good song like overall. So I would give that one an 8 out of 10. And then we kick off the second side with what was Big Country's debut single, which is called Harvest Home, which is just a real rocking start to the second side. You've got a great strong drum rhythm on it, fantastic guitar sounds like as usual. However, I would say it's maybe not quite as melodic like as some of like the other songs like from the album, and like thusly like it actually failed to chart this like on like initial release. Like however, like on like the back of like this song like it did get noticed like in sort of like indie circles and that. So like they did actually join, they supported the Jam like on like the Jam's like final tour, which would have certainly got them like noticed like a lot more like among like sort of like younger like rock fans. That kind of like after like the Jam broke up, like Big Country like was certainly like in contention like for becoming like the next big like British rock band. And then we move on with, for me, the weakest track on the album, but it's by no means a bad song. It's called Lost Patrol, which, yeah, one of the more fillery songs for me. It begins with this sort of like delay-ridden like guitar riff, and the drums then come in, and they carry most of the song along. Again, the EBow creates like this like sort of like sort of really sort of atmospheric feeling like of driving through like the Highlands like of Scotland and that. Like of course like I'm like sort of like Scottish like myself, like so like this track here like it's sort of like it's sort of like you can picture like sort of like driving through the mist like around like Loch Lomond like and that. So yeah, like it's just a really like atmospheric track. However, for me, the actual substance like of like the song, the actual content like of like the writing and like the melody like is like maybe like a little bit like lacking. Like it's mostly like an instrumental track, this. And like I must say as well, kind of like the sounds like of this album, like it's starting to get a little bit like tired, like a little bit like overused like by this point. And like I think that is more noticeable because the actual substance like of this song like isn't quite as strong like as some of like the other tracks. But then after that we get, I think, a really underrated song called Close Action, which has a more sort of like slower beat to this one here. However, it is still quite upbeat. Like it manages to be quite slow, but still very upbeat. Like at the same time, I just really love the chorus. That like "I'll carry you home" line. I think it just works so well. It's easy to overlook this song. Like song, like kind of like when like you're thinking like about this album, like this is a song like which like by title like I wouldn't necessarily remember, but is always a track which whenever it is on I have a great time like listening to it. So yeah, Close Action would get a 9 out of 10 from me. And then the penultimate song was another one of the singles from the album. Like I quite like the sequencing like of this record like as well. Like they haven't sort of like just like lumbered like all the singles like on like the first half like of side one. Like they've kind of spaced them out like throughout the album, like which I do quite like. It means that it kind of like it sort of like retains like this level like of consistency throughout it. And like for me, Fields of Fire is another winner like of a song. And lyrically, it's a kind of anti-Falklands War anthem, but it's got a very sort of like celebratory kind of sound to it. Like I love like the chorus, like the 400 miles line. Like again, like they harmonise really well, like Big Country. And like again, like the production works. I love the way the track sort of builds up. Another classic single for them reached number 10 on the UK chart. So yeah, Fields of Fire, just a wonderful, wonderful song. Night hangs on the city like a blanket on a cage. But then we close the album with what for me could be my favourite song on the album, and definitely is one of my favourite album closers of all time. It's a song called Porrohman, which for me, I just love the way this song again builds up. It is a hefty 7 minutes like in length. Like however, for me, not a second of this song like is wasted. I just love the way the track builds up, like from that very like minimalistic like guitar riff, like on the introduction to the sort of like the way like sort of like the first verse like comes in, like again like Adamson's very powerful, very passionate vocals, and then halfway through the song the pace just like completely changes. Like it's like it speeds up like a lot more, becomes a lot more like anthemic, like that line like give us iron, give us rope, like that. But again, it just sounds so fantastic. I would also link in the description to this video what for me is one of the greatest like live TV performances like of all time, like them performing this song like on like the Tube. Just an absolutely remarkable live performance there, like just like 4 incredible musicians like really like showing like really just showing like what like they're made of. Like it's just like an incredible performance, like which I will like urge you all to check out. So yeah, Porrohman closes the album in absolutely fine form, an easy 10 out of 10 for me. So overall, this album would score a very terrific 90%. So I think this is an absolutely great debut album, definitely up there, like in one of the all-time greatest debut albums. I just really think Big Country, they arrived sort of fully formed, like with like a sort of like a set identity and like a musical style. It's just got a great mix of like very powerful guitars, great production like from like Steve Lillywhite, as well as like Adamson's fantastic songwriting and lyrics. And despite like their international success, like I think like they are quite like underrated. Like I mean, like especially like in like America, like where like they also like looked on a bit as being a bit of like a novelty act, like a kind of like a sort of like a Scottish like sort of like rock like kind of like novelty, like with only one like big like American hit, like the title song like from the album. However, for me they are a lot more than just like a one-hit wonder like novelty acts. Like they've got like this album just proves it, like they were one of like the best rock bands like off like the early 80s. And just to end like on like a bit of like a sad note, like it was quite a tragic story like what happened like to like Stuart Adamson, like after like Big Country fizzled out like in like the early 90s, like he didn't like have like any further success. Like I think he had a couple like of solo albums out, however they didn't really achieve that much success. Like he ended up like committing suicide like in 2001. But certainly at this point in time they had the potential to become an absolutely huge band, like certainly like as big as U2 like would have like became, like if only like sort of like luck like was on their side, like, but unfortunately like it wasn't. But yeah, for me, Big Country's still a great band, and this is definitely like their like defining statement, The Crossing. So I hope you have enjoyed this review, and I will see you all next time for the next video. Goodbye.